Coming up, strong storms this evening will bring an end to the extreme heat. I'll have the full forecast coming up.
Also, how Iran responded to the United States' weekend strikes on its nuclear sites.
Plus, why a local bar could lose its liquor license. That's coming up today on Live at 4. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4. Thanks for joining us on this very steamy day.
Do you love it or hate it?
I do not love it.
You do not love it.
I love being inside and looking outside on days like this.
A lot of people did that over the weekend, and that's where we're going to start on this Monday with the weather. Jacob Montesano is here with your first warn forecast. Jacob, how much longer do we have to deal with this heat and humidity?
Well, I would say just a few more hours, at least the heat at this level. It's still going to be a bit warm this week, but not nearly as bad. And you can see with the temperature for the current temperatures, parts of the area have already seen that cool down. And the difference between areas that have seen the cold front move through versus those that haven't, it's quite different. 91 in Prairie du Chien, and just to the north of that, 70 in La Crosse. So we're going to see these temperatures drop pretty dramatically. But right now, a lot of the area is still dealing with these heat index values at, if not a little bit above 100. Now, again, this is all going to end soon. The hot temperatures, but before or as it does, we are going to see those storms roll through, possibly bringing in some severe weather. Now, we've already seen a few severe thunderstorm warnings for areas north and northwest of our area, and you can see some of that heavy rain really starting to push into the northwestern portion of our region. But further southwest, we're also seeing some additional showers and thunderstorms developing in northeast Iowa. All of these storms could produce severe weather, with the most likely hazards being strong winds and minor hail. There is a very small tornado risk, but we're not too concerned about a widespread tornado outbreak, so that is the good news. But there is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for Dane County and areas to the southwest, northeast, and then everywhere northwest of that. The storms are going to move from the northwest to the southeast and dissipate a little bit as they track that way, so places southeast of Dane County won't see as much severe weather as places northwest will, but everyone will see some rain at some point tonight, and we will likely see thunderstorms even for those of you that don't see severe weather, and then that will bring much cooler temperatures for tomorrow. So I'll continue talking more in detail about this and also talk about more storm chances for the middle of the week. All those details will be coming up a bit later.
Thank you, Jacob. And of course, be safe out there. The city of Madison is encouraging people in need of a cool down to go to the public libraries. Here's a list of a few of those locations and the operating hours. You can find a full list at madisonpubliclibrary.org.
And you can track when alert day conditions end and what's in store for tomorrow with the First Warn Weather app. It's free wherever you get your apps.
Within the past few hours, Iran has launched an attack on a U.S. base in Qatar in its response to the U.S. strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend.
Erica Brown reports from Capitol Hill, where members of Congress will receive a briefing on the operations tomorrow.
Iran launched short and medium-range missiles at the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar Monday, the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. The attack came in retaliation for U.S. strikes on 3 key Iranian nuclear sites. A U.S. defense official says there have been no reports of U.S. casualties.
This is the home of U.S. Central Command. There are a range of critical assets at this base: drones, aircraft, and more.
President Trump visited the U.S. base outside Doha just over a month ago, where he told U.S. troops this.
I will never hesitate to wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States of America or our partners.
The attack happened just as President Trump was set to meet with his national security team. Diplomatic sources tell CBS News Iran's retaliation was expected and calibrated. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are mostly divided along party lines over President Trump launching the military strikes, but one Republican says Congress needs to vote. On social media, the Republican Thomas Massie of Kentucky wrote, under the War Powers Act, the president is required to withdraw from hostilities in Iran within 60 days unless he gets a vote of Congress. Others are standing by the president's decision.
Given the situation that we're looking at right now, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the president and the administration.
Members of Congress are set to be briefed tomorrow on the situation. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Tehran said it launched the same number of missiles at Al Udeid Air Base that the U.S. used to strike Iranian targets.
On Wall Street, stocks are rallying as investors hope Iran's retaliation won't disrupt the flow of crude oil. The Dow ended the day up 375 points, the Nasdaq up 184, and the S&P 500 is up 57.
Right now, Madison police are looking for a man they say tried to kill someone earlier this month. 22-year-old Jamel Grant Amos is wanted for a drive-by shooting outside of a store on the east side earlier this month. The afternoon of June 11th, Grant Amos was allegedly driving on Milwaukee Street when he fired shots from his car. His victim, another 22-year-old man, was hit multiple times and ended up in the hospital. If you see Grant Amos, call the police.
In 1 week, the man charged with stabbing another man to death will be back in court. Rodney Golden is charged with first-degree intentional homicide. The charge stems from a stabbing outside the Monkey Shines Bar and Grill in Fitchburg. In the early morning hours of May 6th, police responded to the restaurant on McKee Road. First responders took the 39-year-old victim to the hospital, where he died.
And that leads us to today. Fitchburg City Hall will be voting tomorrow on whether or not Monkey Shines will be able to keep its liquor license.
News 3 Now's Jalen Banks spoke with the city and joins us with a closer look at the conversation.
Monkey Shines Bar in Fitchburg is at risk of losing its liquor license. This comes after a string of events and most recently, a homicide. Tuesday, the Fitchburg Common Council will vote on whether or not Monkey Shines Bar and Grill will keep their liquor license. This comes after a string of violent incidents the past year and a half. In December of 2023, a shooting occurred in the parking lot of the bar. In May of 2024, a 39-year-old woman was stabbed also in the parking lot of the bar. And most recently, in May of this year, a fight in the bar which spilled into the parking lot and ended in a fatal stabbing. The city has been in communication with the bar looking for solutions.
We want to ensure that the reputation of our city is one where people feel safe and that people feel like appropriate behaviors are important, and that the city is willing to hold business owners or others accountable for their actions. While on the same token, also being willing to work with or collaborate with business owners where there is room to do so.
We reached out to Monkey Shines Bar trying to get a hold of their owner, but they were unavailable. For now, reporting in Fitchburg, Jalen Banks, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Jalen. The Common Council meeting is tomorrow at 6:30, and a decision would only need a simple majority to pass.
A man is dead after a crash late last night. Just before 11, the Rock and Greene County Sheriff's offices responded to a crash on West Highway in the town of Avon. The Rock County Sheriff's Office says a Nissan Sentra was heading east when a Ford going west on the highway crossed the center line, went into the wrong lane, and struck the Nissan head-on. The people in the Ford were taken to the hospital with serious but not life-threatening injuries. The driver of the Nissan died at the scene. We know he was 26 years old and from Winnebago, Illinois. The Rock County Medical Examiner will release his name at a later date. The investigation into the crash is ongoing.
Wisconsin's Better Business Bureau is warning travelers to beware of a passport and visa website it calls deceptive. The BBB says it's received 78 reports detailing fraudulent activities associated with USPassportandVisa.org. The website falsely claims to facilitate international travel processes. Travelers say they've paid $88 expecting official documents, only to receive a simple PDF application that you can already fill out for free at the State Department's website. The BBB recommends verifying passport renewal procedures directly through the government's official channels. You should always avoid third-party services and verify the sites you're using. Official government sites end with .gov. And of course, always report scams if you encounter one or if you are the victim of one.
Coming up next on Live at 4, why some new research about the bird flu has the medical community on high alert.
Plus, which insurers are committing to make the process of prior authorization easier.
There is concern that bird flu is evolving to bypass the human immune system. Using artificial intelligence technology, researchers at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte looked at thousands of viral proteins, and they say the virus has mutated over the past decade. Those mutations increase the chances of a pandemic and that older vaccines may not be as effective. 70 people have been infected and 1 person has died from H5N1 in the U.S.
Dozens of health insurance companies are promising changes to their pre-approval process by 2027. The measures apply to Americans with commercial, Medicare Advantage, and Medicaid managed care coverage. The companies want to speed up their prior authorization decision timelines, reduce the scope of claims subject to pre-approval, and ensure plans honor existing prior authorizations for 90 days for patients who change carriers.
Tomorrow, the National Transportation Safety Board will hear the findings of an investigation into the mid-air door plug blowout. It happened, you may recall, in January of last year. Dozens of people were on the plane, which was 16,000 feet in the air when the incident happened. The missing piece of the Alaska Air flight was later found in a backyard. The NTSB's preliminary findings reveal 4 bolts that are supposed to hold the plug in place were missing. We'll bring you the full findings of the investigation when they're released tomorrow on News 3 Now.
Federal prosecutors could soon wrap up their case in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The government's final witness took the stand once again as the trial entered its 7th week. Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The defense has indicated it will wrap up its case this week without calling any witnesses, signaling Sean Combs will not testify in his own defense.
Across the U.S., record-breaking heat, we're not in it alone, is taking hold. More than 170 million Americans are fighting through this year's first summer swelter. Beaches across the country crowded with people trying to stay cool, with temperatures soaring up to 20 degrees above average in some areas this week.
Ooh, and we are feeling it here. Shout out to everyone working outside today.
Oh, yeah.
Jacob, are we expecting any relief?
Well, from the heat, yes. We are still seeing those hot temperatures right now, but once those storms roll through, it will be a lot better. Still warm, but not nearly as bad as it has been the last couple of days. Now, with that, we're going to see some severe weather with that cold front for this evening. But again, not as warm for later tonight, but also during the daytime tomorrow. But we are going to see several chances of rainfall this week, especially through Thursday. Now, we have an alert day in the forecast through this evening, and it's kind of combining with the heat today. We have an alert day for that as well. But we also have an alert day for the severe weather that is expected. This is going to be through tonight, especially the early overnight hours for all of southern Wisconsin. But the best chance will be for areas west and north. Now, right now, you can see all of those showers and thunderstorms to the northwest starting to really move into Juneau County. And we also are seeing some more isolated storms pop up in northeast Iowa, likely going to impact portions of southwestern Wisconsin over the next 30 minutes to an hour. So we have a slight risk for just about everybody, but the further southeast you're located, the less likely you are going to see the severe weather. The severe thunderstorm watch is for Dane County and areas to the west and north. Southeast of that, not under that severe thunderstorm watch, and the most likely hazard will be strong winds. We could see some hail, small chance of an isolated tornado, but like I mentioned earlier, we are not expecting a widespread tornado outbreak. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we don't see a single tornado warning, but we're likely going to see a few severe thunderstorm warnings with those strong winds expected. So timing all this out, it's really going to push through Dane County around 7. Until then, areas west and north will see that move through, and then a little bit later into the evening and early overnight, the severe weather will come to an end, but we're still going to see some scattered showers and thunderstorms, and that's going to continue for the most part overnight. We likely are going to see a few breaks, but as we get into Tuesday morning, we'll see more showers and storms move through the area, and we're going to continue to see the chance of rain for most of Wednesday and Thursday. So continuing forward towards Tuesday night and Wednesday, we'll see a little bit more consistent rain kind of move back into the area. The good news is that right now, we are not expecting a lot of severe weather after this first round of storms this evening. So although we are expecting plenty of rainfall, as we are just going to simply see several rounds of these showers and thunderstorms, the severe weather risk right now does not look to be too strong for Tuesday and Wednesday, as those temperatures will be cooler. Highs will only be near 80.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Well, today we're taking a deeper dive into Verona, a town that's grown from a small village surrounded by farms to a bustling community.
Yeah, so what's fed that growth of Hometown USA? That's what Arman Rahman's set to find out in his story that airs tonight at 10. Hello.
Hi, Arman.
Welcome.
Hi, nice to see you guys.
Yeah, so is the city actually growing?
Yes, it is. In the past 10 years, 3,400 people have moved into the city, and city planners projected it will continue growing 2 to 4% through the next years through 2050.
So perception really is reality. And what's driving all of this growth?
Well, perhaps shocking no one. Epic Systems,
Right.
a big part of it. Information jobs, which account for jobs that include Epic, are actually 90% of the city's total jobs, like the total workforce. And the campus is actually running out of office space, so they're planning building a 6th campus, which will be coming in here soon.
Every time I drive by, the campus is morphing.
Yeah.
It's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, they're always up to something over there. And so does that directly correlate to then more residents there?
Not exactly.
Oh,
roughly
a plot twist.
Yeah, exactly. Roughly 1,200 people work in Verona, but still live outside of Verona. So I spoke to a local realtor who says the housing market in the city really needs to change. It's not the best fit for a lot of these younger kind of single family or single up and coming kind of, home buyers, but he's still seeing a high demand for single family housing.
Well, and growth is kind of a double-edged sword because it helps the tax base, but you have to grow appropriately. And is the city concerned at all that Verona is growing too quickly, too big, too fast?
Perhaps the opposite. I mean, City Council President Mara Helmke tells me the price of growth is growth, and she said that very happily. She says more developments are underway, a lot of affordable housing, a lot of condominiums, a lot of townhomes, and she says that Verona really has the unique opportunity of really being particular with the amount of housing and where they put it in the city. But if you look at City Council documents, there's constantly just new approval and new things on the docket for different types of housing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this will be a good story, and remind people, when can they see it?
this will be on tonight at 10 o'clock.
Very good.
We're
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Arman.
Thanks, Armand.
Coming up on Live at 4, big news for all of us Dolly Parton fans. This is our day.
This one's for Brady. Plus, Will Loper reviews 28 years later when Live at 4 continues. Pixar and Zombies made their debuts at the box office over the weekend.
And one was a little more successful than the other. Here's film critic Will Loper's review.
Hey, Susan and Brady. Zombies ran to second place at the box office this past weekend, with 28 years later making $60 million, while the newest Pixar film, Elio, made a disappointing $21 million, the lowest Pixar opening ever.
There were so many dead.
28 years later is director Danny Boyle's follow-up to 2002's 28 Days Later, in which a rage virus takes over the world and turns humans into fast-running zombies that bite.
I feel he's a bit young.
He's ready, Jenny.
Once you walk onto that mainland, there's no rescues.
Moving up and down.
The film explores the idea of family, following a young boy, Spike, and his relationship to both his father and mother.
Look at what's in front of you.
The first half has all the tense zombie fighting action you could ask for, while the second half is surprisingly emotional. But it's the inventive camera work, editing, and stylization Danny Boyle is known for that make 28 years later a must-see in theaters now.
You okay? I'm trying to get abducted by aliens.
And on the complete opposite side of the movie-going experience, Pixar's Elio follows a young boy who is happily abducted by aliens.
You need to make friends. I just want to belong somewhere.
While in space, Elio meets another alien child as he pretends to be the leader of Earth.
Back home, I didn't fit in. I thought Earth was the problem. But what if it's me? Well, I like you, and you seem fine to me.
The movie is a fun space romp that explores themes of loneliness and fitting in. And Elio is absolutely worth seeing for anyone looking to entertain younger moviegoers for 100 minutes. For Live at 4, I'm Will Loper.
Oh, that looks cute,
Yeah,
even
I'd
though
go
it didn't do
see
so
it.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, good time to go to the movies.
That's for sure. Okay, well, if Brady is not here in the near future, pretending to call in sick, we'll know where he is in Las Vegas because Dolly Parton is returning to the concert stage.
This is not a drill, people. The entertainment legend says she is doing 6 concerts there. It's a mini residency called Dolly Live in Las Vegas. It runs December 4th through the 13th, and it coincides with the National Finals Rodeo in Vegas. Fans can, of course, expect all of her greatest hits, including 9 to 5, Jolene, and I Will Always Love You. Tickets go on sale Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific via Ticketmaster. Various ticket packages will include photo opportunities with Dolly, an onstage tour, access to Dolly's Rhinestone Lounge, and a bunch of other perks.
I'm with you. I adore her.
Yeah.
I think she's incredible.
Yeah, and I didn't know if she would ever do a concert again. She said that she was kind of walking away from touring, but now she's back at it.
All right, let's get those tickets.
Look out, Vegas.
Coming up on Live at 4, UW leaders announce funding cuts.
And how much schools have to do without, and why.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for staying with us on this Monday afternoon on Live at 4.
Yeah, and I hope everyone has a cool place to go. You're drinking plenty of water. It is a hot one out there.
Sticky.
And, yeah, sticky like soup. The weather words today, we are tracking alert day storms.
Oh, that's a beautiful shot, isn't it?
It is, yeah. A good day to be on a boat, I would say, Jacob.
Yeah, temperatures have certainly been hot the last couple of days, but we are going to see some relief, but with that will come some strong storms. Now, looking at the temperatures right now in the lower 90s for a lot of southern Wisconsin, but you can see just how much cooler it is for those areas northwest that have already seen the storms roll through, and it's even more evident with the heat index values. The heat index is near 100 for Prairie du Chien, but in the lower 70s for Viroqua, La Crosse, and other areas that have seen the storms roll through. Now, looking at the current radar, you can see some of that heavier rain to the northwest. Right now, there are no severe thunderstorm warnings, but you can see there is a little bit of a hail signature in these storms. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do see a severe thunderstorm warning, especially for those of you in Juneau and Adams County, and in general, the northwestern portion of our area as these storms roll through. Now, further to the south, there are some of these storms popping up in northeast Iowa, likely going to continue to impact portions of southwestern Wisconsin. As we take a look at the severe weather or the severe thunderstorm watch, it is for Dane County and areas to the west and north, also kind of the northeast. But places to the southeast, the chance of severe weather will be a bit lower as those storms are going to dissipate just a little bit as they move from the northwest to the southeast. Now, the best chance for storms in Madison looks to be around 7 p.m. Again, a little bit earlier for areas west and north and a little bit later for areas south and east. But everyone is expected to see rain at some point and could even see thunderstorms for everyone. It's just the severe weather risk is a little bit lower for areas southeast. But this isn't going to be the only chance of rainfall this week. We have several other chances of rain for the middle of the week. I'll talk more about that and talk about the temperatures that will be cooler. And I say it in quotes because it's still going to be pretty warm, but I'll have the details on that coming up a bit later.
Thank you, Jacob. UW-Madison will see budget cuts next year. The university instructed deans and vice chancellors to slim down how much they spend within Fund 101. That's where UW gets the bulk of its state public funding. Schools and colleges will have to cut their base budget by 5%. Other parts of the university, including administrative, will have to cut their base budget by 7%.
When announcing the cuts, leadership cited uncertainties, including possible changes to federal funding. That could cost UW up to $130 million. A statement from Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin reads in part, quote, "Our expectation is that many of the necessary reductions can be borne by trimming non-personnel expenses, leaving some vacancies unfilled, and in some instances, moving existing expenses to alternative funding sources. Still, we recognize these cuts will not be painless and that a number of units will face difficult choices."
Breaking news, the Trump administration can restart deporting people to countries they're not from. A divided Supreme Court handed down the decision this afternoon. The majority did not detail its reasoning in a brief order, as is typical on its emergency docket. A major Sauk County nursing home is in danger of closing.
A county board vote on Thursday will decide the fate of the publicly run healthcare center that advocates who are working to avoid the nursing home's closure say the center is an important part of the community.
And we did all the research, our citizens group, and we said, this is awful. You can't do this, you know? And I think of the 4 county boards meetings that we could speak at, because you can only speak about it if it's on the agenda. Over 150 people spoke against it. And we got 1,300 petition signatures from around the county immediately.
And we'll hear more from those advocates as well as members of the county board working to decide the fate of the nursing home. That's coming up tonight at 6.
The high temperatures can affect not just your body, but also some medications. The CDC says medications that don't mix well with heat include some antidepressants and antipsychotics, antihistamines, antibiotics, and more. The heat can also degrade or damage some medications, including insulin, inhalers, and EpiPens.
In some cases, if you're not hydrating in certain meds, it can make you feel lightheaded and dizzy and nauseated. So it's really important to stay hydrated. You don't want to leave any medications in the heat.
And you can stay safe by drinking plenty of water, of course, especially when taking medications that cause dehydration or sun sensitivity.
This week, the CDC's new vaccine advisors will vote on thimerosal in flu vaccines. Thimerosal was used to prevent microbial growth, but was removed from most shots decades ago over concerns that it contains mercury. Subsequent studies found thimerosal does not cause neurodevelopment issues. The presenter at tomorrow's meeting will be the former head of a group founded by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which advocated against vaccinating children.
Research born out of UW could put Wisconsin on the global map.
Kayla Dembeck shows us how Rialta Fusion is aiming to change the future of energy.
A Madison-based company is working to revolutionize how we power our world. Rialta Fusion emerged from a UW-Madison research experiment and is now developing breakthrough fusion technology with university partners. Fusion energy produces up to 4 times more power than traditional nuclear fission, without the dangerous radioactive waste or safety concerns. But Rialta knows technology alone isn't enough. The company is prioritizing community engagement, making sure people understand and trust this new energy source before it hits the market. And Wisconsin stands to benefit big time. Company leaders say our state has the perfect combination of university research and manufacturing expertise to become a global hub for fusion energy production. To find out more, check out the Badger Beat on Instagram and TikTok by searching Badger_Beat.
Thank you, Kayla. Coming up on Live at 4, Iran retaliates against the U.S.
UW historian explains the significance of this move and what comes next.
On Saturday at the highest levels, I communicated to the White House that it was my expectation that we would have a Gang of 8 classified briefing. That Gang of 8 briefing has not taken place. So the question is, why not? What is the administration hiding?
Look, the Commander-in-Chief has Article 2 responsibilities. They're very serious and important, especially in times like this. I think he used that authority judiciously.
Well, those are the 2 leaders of the United States House speaking on the president's choice to strike 3 Iranian nuclear sites this weekend.
The president briefed top Republicans this weekend before the strikes, but not Democrats. And just hours ago, Iran retaliated against the U.S., firing missiles at a U.S. base in Qatar and Iraq.
And joining us now to talk about what the latest escalation means for the future of this conflict, UW military historian Professor John Hall. Welcome back to Live at 4, John.
Thank you. My pleasure to be with you.
Well, what is the significance of Iran responding in this fashion?
Well, I think the significance is it does signal, as the president has indicated, that Iran is looking for an off-ramp. Iran would not like this conflict to escalate further at this moment. Israel and the United States enjoy complete air superiority over Iranian skies. Iran has suffered a lot. It has suffered some losses that are going to take years to reconstitute. The president and Benjamin Netanyahu have both sort of teased the idea that they are amenable to the idea of regime change in Tehran, all of this signaling to Iran that they have much more that they could lose if this war continues. And so the very measured response by Iran, 14 missiles in return for 14 of those massive ordnance penetrators that B-2 bombers dropped on 2 of the Iranian enrichment sites, the early warning that the attacks were coming, doing it at a symbolic air base in Qatar that is the home of U.S. Central Command Forward, but within the sovereign territory of a nation that is not a historic enemy of Iran, and hence not a nation that would see this as its own reason to enter the fight. All of these things indicate that Iran wants to cool the temperature down a little bit right now, but given how much they have lost, I cannot believe that they think that the balance sheet zeroes out right now. And so I don't know that we should be celebrating, these overtures of peace that the White House is reading from this measured response now.
Speaking of, President Trump on social media just thanked Iran for letting the U.S. know about the strike in advance, the strike on Qatar. What do you make of that?
Well, this was reminiscent of Iran's retaliation for the 2020 killing of Qasem Soleimani, the charismatic leader of the Iranian Quds Force. And Iran had to respond to that attack as well, and it did so with a limited strike upon an American base in northern Iraq, the Al-Assad Air Base. And there were casualties in that attack, but it was nevertheless restrained in its scope, and Iran immediately communicated afterwards that that was it, that it was not going to pursue further attacks, and it considered that justice had been served. What is coming out of Tehran right now is definitely an indication that they do not want further escalation, but the Ayatollah is saying something rather different in terms of whether or not they feel that this is a satisfactory conclusion to the conflict in the long run. So I am, like anyone else, would hope that this will yield to diplomatic negotiations, but I'm not terribly hopeful on that note, because I think one of the reasons why the United States probably decided to engage in kinetic operations at this time was because they could tell that they were not going to be able to extract from Iran the kind of diplomatic settlement that Washington and Tel Aviv were demanding. And so this was going to kind of just play out to some interminable end. And so by conducting these strikes, the United States and Israel are able to claim a victory of sorts of having set back the Iranian nuclear program any number of months or years without having to actually have the Iranians participate in reaching something that they could claim to be a victory. Iran will, I think, plot its revenge, but I don't think they're in a position to extract it in the immediate future.
And we had that clip earlier with, two congressional lawmakers, leaders of both parties, and a lot of people have been talking about the claims, and lawmakers too, on both sides of the aisle. Some are saying the president's actions were illegal because Congress didn't authorize the strikes. What's your take on that? Is that normal?
I'm sympathetic to that argument as an early American historian and understanding the intent of the framers when they divided responsibilities for war making between the executive branch and the legislative branch. However, there is ample historical precedent for presidents to act somewhat unilaterally in this fashion, going all the way back to Thomas Jefferson. The War Powers Resolution in 1973, Congress designed that in part to claw back from the president some of these authorities that they thought the executive had gotten too comfortable in exercising on their own. But that act can be read two different ways. And one of the ways, that's the way that administrations have liked to read it, is it gives an administration a blank check for 60 days. You can go do whatever you want with the military as long as it lasts less than 60 days. Beyond that, you need our permission to continue. Also, there is the authorization for the use of military force that Congress passed into law in September of 2001, just after the terrorist attacks on September 11th. That law was written so vaguely and so broadly that an administration could cite that authorization as legal justification to conduct operations such as this. Because the United States has designated Iran a state sponsor of terrorism, that AUMF was something of a blank check to go after terrorist actors and the states that sponsor them, which the Trump administration could argue it just did.
John, thank you very much for having this conversation with us today.
Great to see you, John. We'll have you back soon. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll be right back.
So we now have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions of Crawford, Richland, and Vernon counties. This is within the last 5 minutes or so. This storm is going to possibly produce wind speeds up around 60 miles per hour. Hail looks like it is going to be on the lower side, so that is the good news, but it is moving pretty quickly around kind of the east-northeast, around 30 to 35 miles per hour. This is likely not going to be the last severe thunderstorm warning across our area, as we are expecting to see these storms continue to push from the kind of west-northwest to the east-southeast throughout the evening. And the most likely hazard will be the winds, as we are seeing with that storm right now. Could see some minor hail as well. Small chance of an isolated tornado, but again, the tornado risk is relatively low. So let's track out all of these storms this evening. They are going to push through and make their way southeast. Once they get to Dane County, it'll be roughly around 7 p.m. Obviously a bit earlier for areas west and north, a little bit later for areas southeast. But even after this initial wave of severe weather, or possible severe weather, I should say, we are still going to see some rain on the back end, but it looks like the best chance of severe weather will be during the evening and in the early overnight hours. And later in the night, we'll just see a few showers and a few thunderstorms as well. Now, once we get into Tuesday, we're going to continue to see the chance of some showers and thunderstorms, but the severe weather risk will remain relatively low during that time, and that's going to be the case for Wednesday. But we are likely going to see plenty of rainfall this week, as we'll see a few rounds of these showers and thunderstorms for Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday specifically does look like we'll see a little bit more rain compared to Tuesday, but still it depends on where some of these showers and thunderstorms fire up as to which areas will see the most on which day. So overall, we're going to continue to see those chances of storms as we head into the middle of the week, but temperatures, those will be a lot better. Still warm, and it's still also going to be humid, as highs will be near 80, maybe back up to the middle 80s for Thursday through the end of the week. Storms may return for Sunday, but it looks like Friday and Saturday we won't see quite as much rainfall, but the amount of rain that we're going to see the next couple of days will certainly make up for that. So as a whole, chance of severe weather this evening. We'll continue to provide updates on any warnings that do form. But for now, we do have that one severe thunderstorm warning for parts of the area.
Milwaukee firefighters made an unusual rescue over the weekend.
They were at the scene of a house fire on Saturday. No one was home at the time, but firefighters did find a small alligator in the basement of the home. Firefighters handed the gator off to animal control for care, and luckily it was not hurt.
Yeah. Things you don't expect to find
in Milwaukee.
We'll be right back.
Today, everybody, we hope to see you back here tomorrow. You can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.